Hello and welcome. My name is Hannah Hayden and I'm a student member of the Privacy Law section. And today I'm thrilled to be joined with Cody Venzke. Cody is a senior counsel for CDT's Equity in Civic Technology project, where he worked to ensure that education agencies and other civic institutions use technology responsibly and equitably while protecting the privacy and civil rights of individuals. And if you may and might not know, he is also on the executive committee of the Privacy Law section for the California Lawyers Association. Cody, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat privacy with you.
Oh, wonderful. So for those watching today, I think the natural starting point is to understand your career trajectory and what that has looked like. So can you please tell us more about your professional path and your transition into privacy?
Yeah, so my career path was a bit of a winding one, and I know that many members of the section can probably relate to that. Two constant themes throughout the whole path have been civil rights and a focus on technology and its intersection with civil rights specifically. But beyond that, there was never any surefire, straightforward way to where I am today. It probably starts once upon a time long ago. I was a high school math teacher in Houston, Texas for Teach for America. Taught Algebra 2 and AP Calculus. But there I was working in a low-income community, and that really meshed up with my desire to work in civil rights to help folks out and help ensure that they have access to societal institutions. But went to law school after that for the very reason of helping have a broader impact. I was immediately drawn to the way that technology affects people's access to those societal institutions I mentioned. And so was exploring a lot of routes in law school. Once upon a time, I thought I was going to be a big tech and antitrust lawyer. And that was before tech and antitrust was a thing on people's radar. And I was told there's no jobs. That's not a topic people are interested in. But that has changed. But ended up going to a firm for a couple of years, working on startups and mid-sized companies and their corporate governance issues. Clerk for a couple of years, where I was really exposed to privacy law and the many permutations it has under federal law. And all that together eventually brought me to the Center for Democracy and Technology, where I joined initially as a member of the Student Privacy Project, which merged my appreciation for civil rights, for technology policy, and my background in education together. That project has since expanded to focus on governmental institutions more broadly, which is now the Equity in Civic Technology Project.
Wow. What a career path.
As promised, a bit winding.
Yes. Well, you did mention, prior to starting your career as an attorney, Cody, you taught math at a large public high school in Houston, Texas through Teach for America. And what my research unearthed was that you were a guest on the Tech Policy podcast by Joe Miller. And I happened to listen to it, and it was, chock full of a great insight. And the episode was titled Protecting Your Child's Data in School. And so I wanted to ask you how your experience for Teach for America impacted your practice or perspective on privacy.
Yeah, it really underscored the ways that many institutions, not just in the private space where we're familiar with ad networks and Google and Facebook and their kin, but also public entities, our governmental institutions, collect just enormous amounts of data in conducting their day-to-day business. And so as a high school math teacher, I saw the many ways that we were not only collecting our students' grades, but key demographic information, racial data, their gender identity, their family income, their free and reduced price lunch status, which is, of course, a federal program to help support families, and much, much more on top of that. And all of that is essential information for helping provide students essential services that go beyond just what is the grade in the grade book. And in addition to wanting to collect that data so we can provide those educational services and supports, we also want to protect it, because in the wrong hands or under the wrong uses, it could potentially be harmful for these students. It could potentially violate community trust. And so that was one of the things that drew me to the Student Privacy Project at CDT, was that very real world experience with just how much data governmental entities, including public schools, are sitting on and the absolute need to protect that data.
Definitely. I can only imagine how much you saw and how terrifying that could be. Um, Now, switching gears a little bit to the privacy law section, what brought you to the privacy law section, and would you mind elaborating a bit on your role on the committee?
So one of the things that drew me to the privacy law section is it's the newest section in CLA. And that's fitting because privacy law, in a lot of ways, is a new branch of law that has continued to grow and evolve. I know some practitioners out there would object to it. The laws I work with, including the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, is almost 50 years old. So maybe not entirely new, but definitely gaining a new significance in a more and more data-driven society. And the idea of joining a section that was embracing this new, exciting area and having a community of practice around it was immensely attractive for me and brought me in. It's also a great way for all attorneys, but especially young and mid-level attorneys, to have opportunities to make network connections, to develop their skills and build their knowledge by writing, speaking, researching. And, although I have senior in my title, I still feel like a young attorney in this brand new space. And so that was all very attractive as well.
Definitely. I should note that you forgot one demographic, which is law students.
I should not leave out the law students. We have a great set of law students, such as yours truly. And we're excited to have such energetic, bright, perspective folks in the section as well.
Oh, thank you. And so how has your experience been with the section?
Absolutely wonderful. It's just been an absolute treat to work with such accomplished attorneys. I have the privilege of being on the executive committee for the section. I am the treasurer for the section, and I am constantly in awe of the high caliber folks that I get to work with day in and day out and what they've accomplished. It's also a great pleasure that the section really prides itself on recruiting folks from all walks of life. That includes demographics as well as professional practices. And we try to make a point to recognize that privacy law is not something that just occurs in big firms supporting major tech companies, but it occurs in governmental institutions and nonprofits as well. So we try to represent all ways that privacy law practice.
Definitely. I agree with you that diversity of thought and bringing those different voices to the fore is so important, especially when it comes to vacuum, when it comes to privacy, because it cannot be evaluated in a vacuum. Now, is there anything particular that when you think of the privacy law section where you hope for it to go or grow in a certain way? Where would you like to see this section in perhaps a couple years, 10 years?
As the youngest section in the California Lawyers Association, we are also one of the smallest, if not the smallest. And so I would love to continue to see the section grow and finding new and exciting ways to involve our members and in our projects, because CLA is largely volunteer driven, and having folks step up and contribute their talents to the section and the community of practice is essential not only for the success of the section, but the vibrancy of privacy law in California.
Wonderful. I hope to see it grow as well. Now, Cody, if you aren't practicing, privacy law or working in Washington, D.C. on policy work, where can we find you? What are you doing?
I hope soon traveling a bit more. That's been on hold for the past couple of years. I was actually able to travel a bit this past week, and it was like a breath of fresh air to actually be able to do that again. But then when not on a plane or something, then often in the woods in a tent, which is probably fitting for a privacy lawyer, honestly.
That's yeah, very true. And it looks like we're coming up on time. And Cody, it was lovely getting to know you more. And I'm sure everyone watching today learned a ton about you that they didn't know before, just as I did. And thank you for indulging us with your time and personal insights.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.